Let's have a look. In regard to Veronica, my husband got the vaccine. I have no intentions of getting the vaccine. My concern is in regard to shedding. If he is constantly producing the spike protein, is there ever a time when he won't be a walking virus producing machine? Is his vaccine causing me to also make spike proteins? Thanks. There's a good question. If that is relevant to you, let me know in the comments. Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Right off the bat, I think what we want to do is make sure when we talk, we talk in ways that are clear, that we understand what's going on. So if we say that these are virus producing, the mRNA vaccines turn our body into virus producing factories, then that's not necessarily going to be accurate as of today. That doesn't mean it won't be accurate a year from now when we start getting some referendums on this. But right now, today, what you can say is that it turns your body into a virus spike protein producing factory. So make sure you make that designation when you're talking with people. We have tons of anecdotal evidence that shows that a male who has been inoculated upon having sexual relations with his female is in some way, shape, or form, there's something happening in there that is causing for disruption of the menstrual cycles. Okay, and we have enough reports of this. I think everybody's seen or heard some videos about this. The National Institutes of Health just awarded, I forget which organization, $1.67 million to study this phenomenon. Now, I don't know what's going to come out of that, but we know that there's at least enough interest in it that there is a study that has now been officially started by it. And what I've been doing for this question, because I get this question a lot, is just saying that it is possible. We don't know at this point, and that's one of the problems. We don't know the long-term effect. These experimental biologics are still in clinical trial all the way through to late 2022 and mid-2023, depending upon the company. So there's a lot we don't know. So to make a statement that something is safe with the information we already have at hand, I think is turning a blind eye to the significance of the issue. My advice to people and to patients has been to get into a 72-hour water fast for the person inoculated, and also to consider the use of prophylactically of L-arginine to increase nitric oxide, and serrapeptase to be taken away from food. Serrapeptase is a digestive enzyme that can, from what we've seen practically, seems to be able to break down the spike proteins that are created. So those things can minimize the effect. But there's so much about this we don't know. It's a great question, and there is cause for concern in my professional opinion.
Sue says, I plan to marry a person that was coerced to taking the Johnson & Johnson shot. How concerned should I be about him transmitting the spike protein to me through intimate contact? Where can I find the most current information on this?
Well, in the literature, there's two things that we've seen. We have definitive confirmation in the literature that the spike protein or the virus, in this case the entire virus, can be secreted through the salivary glands. We also have the study coming out of Japan showing that the spike protein, the mRNA sequences, have a tendency and an affinity to lodge into ovarian tissue, testicular tissue, spleen, and several other organs. So I think you can look at that. But then what you have to do, unfortunately, is draw some conclusions, and there has to be some extrapolation that takes hold. This is why I'm telling folks there's so much we don't know about this. And I know there's a lot of concern and angst about this, especially in the people who have been inoculated. That's why I think if a person did get inoculated, one of the safest things that they can do for themselves and the people that they're around, especially people they're having intimate contact with, is to go through a 14-day protocol. The 14-day protocol, the first 3 days are fasting with a little bit of nutrients like L-arginine, serrapeptase, things that we know from the UCSD combination Salk study helps to helps the body recover from damage induced by the spike protein. So that's number one. Theoretically, what we are suggesting is that when a person is fasting for 72 hours, and again, this should be done under this guidance of a licensed professional who knows what they're doing with fasting. But once you've done that, you've essentially effected an off switch. It's the only off switch that we think the body can induce, and I'm pretty confident in this. But after that, that there's an 11 days of really good, organic, nutrient-dense diet with continuation of some of those key nutrients, L-arginine, serapeptase, and things of that nature. And then you do a second 14-day cycle if need be, if that doesn't resolve some of the symptoms that a person post-inoculation is experiencing. So there's so much, folks, we don't know about this, and I want to commend everybody. These are great questions, and this is why we should know answers to these things before experimental inoculations are released for public consumption. I think that's the real big failure right here.
That's such a good point, because otherwise people would say, "Oh, well, why don't you know everything, the ins and out of all of this?" But then you say, "Look, this is the problem. You've put us in a situation where we are having to do all kinds of experimentation to work out how to solve this problem."